Oi, mate, you like discos? No, not the kind with Jonathan Travolta and big old staying alive. I'm talking the river crawling, train hauling, urban sprawling kind of discos. This tall boy won the most grueling off-road competition 8 years in a row and made Land Rover a household name across the world. It's been tipping and topping on mountain tops for nigh on 30 years. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed. It was just me the whole time, your friend James, on the Land Rover Discovery. Big thanks to Keeps Hair Loss Prevention for sponsoring this episode. The sad fact is that 2 out of 3 dudes will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the age of 35. Luckily, that's 17 years away from me. I'm only 18 years old. But honestly, it's never too early to prevent hair loss. Keeps treatments are up to 90% effective at stopping and reducing further hair loss. And the best part is, you don't even have to go all the way to the doctor to get it. Thanks to Keeps, you can visit a doctor online and get your medication shipped right to your house. Plus, Keeps now offers a prescription shampoo to keep your scalp healthy too. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/uptospeed50 to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/uptospeed50. Support the sponsors that support Donut and don't lose your hair. It all started in the late 1970s. Land Rover had just spent the last decade being hamstrung by their parent company, British Leyland. This umbrella company, not actually an umbrella company, it's just what you call like a bigger company that owns a bunch of littler companies. They didn't really make umbrellas. I digress. This umbrella company owned other brands like Mini, MG, and Triumph. And like bad parents, BL's managing of Land Rover was generally hands-off, which is how I was raised, and I turned out perfect. Land Rover and Range Rover models had been completely neglected, and it was nearly 10 years since the last update. To add to their stress, the gas crisis of 1979 was quickly changing the way the car industry operated around the world. Look, guys, I know we mention the gas crisis in almost every episode, but here's the thing. It really f***ed things up. I have to mention it. Lifestyle 4x4 was the name for smaller, more efficient trucks and SUVs that young people and families could afford. A car that could hold all your kids and could get messy. One of the first groups to jump on this trend were Japanese manufacturers. Models like the Mitsubishi Pajero, Isuzu Trooper, and Jeep Grand Cherokee. Land Rover was getting, where is that guy? He hasn't missed an episode in like a year and a half. If that guy was here, he'd probably be like, actually, James, Jeep isn't a Japanese brand. And he'd be right, because he's always right, whether he is or not. Anyway, Land Rover was getting pummeled all over the world by these Japanese and American 4x4s, mostly Japanese. Not only were they smaller and cheaper, they were chock full of new tech, an area that British Leyland had basically forgotten about for the last decade. Land Rover saw this motor trend, copyright, trademark, and decided something had to be done about it. Time for an upgrade! The Series 3 Land Rover was replaced by the Land Rover 110, and a year later, the Land Rover 90. They're essentially the same car, and later would be called the Defender. Rover improved upon the older Series 3 by offering a big old honking 3.5 liter V8 known as the Rover V8. This was good news for farmers and rural Rover enthusiasts who needed, well, I guess that dude couldn't make it to the shoot. I hope he's okay. Anyway, they needed more power, baby. The high-end Range Rover also received much-needed upgrades. For the first time in history, the Range Rover now had leather trim, an automatic transmission, and 5 beautiful doors, as opposed to the original 3-door model. Now, it wouldn't be super awkward to jump in the back seat. Excuse me, Dad.
Sorry, guys.
You in?
They don't offer a 5-door model.
You in? I don't know why I'm in the back. You in?
Do you like how I'm wearing my hat? I feel like a lot of people are gonna wear it like this in the future.
Oh, nope.
But only for a while, and then if you wear it like this after a while,
Give me my
you're not gonna
seatbelt.
look cool.
Needless to say, the 5-door model ended up being so popular that they said, hey, you know what? You know what, mate? Let's discontinue this 3-door Range Rover altogether. No one likes having a butt in their face until you do. I'm cheeky. I like a butt in my face. Sometimes I like a big old juicy bum in my face. The success of both vehicles was undeniable, baby. Farmers loved the Land Rover because of how many pigs they could fit in the back. And the rich people loved the Range Rover because of how many of their pig-like children they could fit in the back. But you might be asking yourself, James, what about all the people in between? I'm neither a farmer nor a rich pig-looking kid having grown up. Well, Rover had gone so hard in 2 different directions that they now had a new problem they needed to deal with. They needed a volume car that they could sell to the masses. So Rover rolled up their probably frilly British sleeves and got to work designing a 3rd model that would appeal to a broader audience, particularly the lifestyle demographic. This new model, codenamed Project J, needed to be cheaper than the Defender and Range Rover, but just as competent, if not better, at off-roading. It was a tall order to fill. But if they were successful, this 3rd model might usher in a new generation of Land Rover enthusiasts. So in late 1986, 9 years before Post Malone was born, production began on Project J. And also the new Range Rover, codenamed Pegasus, which is a buff horse with wings. Designing a new car is expensive. Trust me, I almost went bankrupt designing the Pumphrey 502, but designing 2? Hella expensive. If Rover wanted to stay afloat, they were gonna need to make some sacrifices. And I'm not talking about eating your baby in order to become a witch, which I did. Don't ask. Rover shut down 13 plants worldwide to concentrate their efforts on developing and building the new cars at their plant in Solihull, England. Things started to look bleak, and it wasn't clear if Rover had enough cash to follow through with the project, but their luck was about to change thanks to a little-known isthmus between Canada and Mexico called America. Range Rovers had, up until this point, only been sold through the gray market in the States. But in March of 1987, they finally became fully legal and were an instant success! Rich 1980s Americans, like my parents, bought them up like they were going out of style, but they weren't going out of style because it's such a classic design. With this new source of revenue, Rover felt confident pushing forward with development. Project J was basically an economy version of the Range Rover. Features like the chassis, windscreen, inner door panels, body panels, suspension, and 5-speed manual gearbox were all borrowed. For better off-roading, they went with full-time all-wheel drive with a lockable center diff. The only thing left to figure out was the name. Highlander and Prairie Rover were briefly thrown around, and they even considered naming the car the Pumphrey Butt Wagon. I promise, before settling on the name Discovery. The power plant Land Rover decided to put into the Discovery was the same classic 3.5-liter Rover V8 used in the Range Rover. Despite the name Rover V8, this motor was actually designed by GM for use in Buicks before Rover adopted it. An optional 2.5-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel, the 200 TDI, however, was a genuine Rover developed engine. It could make 111 buff horses at 4,000 RPM and 195 torquey Romanos. It was one of the first mass-produced fuel-injected diesels and featured aluminum alloy cylinder heads that reduced both noise and weight. These engines are solid, and it's pretty common to see them with over 300,000 miles on one. One of the only things that really set the Discovery apart from the Range Rover was the interior. The styling of the cabin was done by Conran Design Group, who were told by Rover, ignore current car interior design and position the car as a lifestyle accessory. Quite frankly, they did a bang-up job. Features like a sunglasses holder built directly into the steering wheel, sick. And matte pockets on the ceiling, sick for back then. And a removable Discovery branded bag on the center console would still be sick today. They also designed the ceiling, and this is the coolest part about Discoveries, to have 2 removable sunroofs and 2 things called Alpine roofs that were like basically sunroofs on the side. And they slathered the whole interior in sonar blue plastic and fabric, which is way, way different from the dark interiors that Rover usually dressed their cabins in. The 1990 model year Discovery was finished just in time to appear at the 1989 Frankfurt Motor Show, and people hated it. I guess hate is the wrong word. What is the word that I was looking for? They loved it! People absolutely loved it. It was cool, it was stylish, it had freaking graphics all over the side. People were psyched to see the first new Land Rover in 2 decades. The best part of this Frankfurt show was the hot dogs, but the second best part was that an engineer from a Japanese competitor had to be escorted off the premises because he was shaving fabric off of the disco's interior to take back home and copy it. Not only was it youthful and trendy, it could perform better than its competition. In an ironic M. Night Shyamalanian twist, Honda ended up buying a 20% share in Land Rover in 1990. Honda sold rebadged Discoveries in Japan under the name Honda Crossroad. This was the first time that Honda had ever rebadged a foreign vehicle and sold it as their own. It was that good. Success of the Disco was largely in part because of its affordability, but it was also due to how different it was from its upmarket brother, the Range Rover. And it was made to get dirty. It had plastic that could be easily wiped down for you if your baby puked in it. Rover intentionally kept it as a 3-door to further distance it from its brother. Commercial director at the time, Chris Woodurk, summed it up pretty well, saying, "It's a leisure vehicle, not aimed at the luxury sector at all. Discovery is for yuppies, and Range Rover is for them people who's already made it. Well, I'm gonna go skydiving now. Let's go, boys." All right. The Discovery was a cool, family-oriented, off-roady car that everyone could enjoy, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Its launch basically ensured the company's survival into the 21st century. One of the coolest things about the Series 1 Discovery is it had a million different special editions. The Camel Trophy was the ultimate off-road Discovery that came in only sand glow yellow with tornado alloy wheels, bull bars, a roof rack, and a damn snorkel. That's right, damn it, snorkel. If you're not familiar with the Camel Trophy, it was a grueling off-road competition held on some of the most challenging terrain on Earth. Places like Madagascar, Siberia, and the Amazonian River Basin. Land Rover had a reputation for dominating this competition, and the Series 1 Discovery won every year from 1990 to 1997. The first Disco was a parts bin Frankenstein because of budget constraints, but Rover was able to put a little TLC and money towards the upcoming refresh. Honda lent their knowledge to help make Land Rover products and manufacturing more reliable. In 1991, they added a 5-door Discovery to their lineup. In 1993, the Discovery was the best-selling 4x4 in Britain. It was outselling the Isuzu Trooper, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the Suzuki Vitara. Land Rover went from almost broke to being on the top in like 10 years. So what do? You keep it going, baby. In 1994, the Series 1 got a facelift and an updated interior to make it seem more car-like. The Disco came with an advanced sound system and airbags for the first time. Both engines received more power, baby. The diesel 200 TDI was replaced by the 2.5 liter 300 TDI, and the 3.5 liter Rover V8 got bored out to 3.9 liters. This also marked the first year the Discovery became available in the US. Around this same time, BMW acquired Land Rover and their relationship with Honda ended. Investment in Land Rover doubled and work began on the second generation Discovery. In 1998, the Discovery Series 2 debuted. It was drastically different than the first gen. BMW's official count was 720 changes. Why they needed to mention that? I don't know. They're friggin' German, and Germans like to do shit like that. Rover got rid of the 3-door version altogether and now only offered a 5-door. For this gen, Land Rover wanted 2 distinct trim levels. One for on-roading and the other for, you guessed it, off-roading. The V8 version now featured the P38 4-liter V8, nicknamed the Thor from the Range Rover. Later, it got a more powerful 4.6-liter V8 in the US that made 225 buff horses and 280 pound-feet of torque. Finally, we get the cooler version. Suck it! The 300 TDI was replaced by the TD5 engine, a 2.5 liter inline 5. The TD5 was electronically managed with more usable torque at a lower RPM for when you're driving up a really steep incline to meet up with your coven to do spells. The chassis and suspension were upgraded with the help of BMW engineering. A hydraulic anti-roll bar system called active cornering enhancement helped to reduce body roll. The third generation, named the Discovery 3, debuted in 2004. In the States and in the Middle East, it was dubbed the LR3. Nah, ma, call me LR3. This was the everyman's off-roader. It had a mode called terrain response that was basically easy mode for trail crawling. All you got to do is press a button and you're freaking good to go, dude. The LR3 had fully independent air suspension. It was adjustable for off-roading and could mimic the movement of a beam axle. Meaning, if one wheel dropped, the other wheel would rise. Additionally, if the bottom of the LR3 hit the ground, the computer would sense it and raise the airbags another inch. This suspension was smarter than Nolan, and Nolan's not even that dumb. All the engines in the LR3s were derived from Land Rover's stepsister, Jaguar, and their new daddy, Ford. The coolest engine offered in the LR3 was a Jaguar-derived 2.7-liter turbo diesel V6, which made 195 horsepower, but 325 pound-feet of torque. This thing was a torque monster. Excuse me. The next refresh came out in 2009, named the Land Rover 4 or LR4 here in the States, because we're so cool, we use abbreviations. Most improvements were mechanical and engine-based, and Land Rover was now owned by Indian motor group Tata. The LR4 exclusively offered Jaguar engines. The 2.7-liter turbo diesel was upgraded to 3 liters. The later versions of this engine made 252 turbo horses, more than any other diesel engine Land Rover ever. The Gen 4 V8 option is a big honking 5-liter that makes 385 horses and 380 torques. That's almost horse pork. I think JFK said with great torque comes great gear responsibility, and that couldn't be more true. The standard gearbox on the LR4 is a 6-speed ZF automatic, but it's available in a 6-speed manual and an 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters, which, you know, I'm really coming around to. I like paddle shifties. The LR4 also has an updated version of the terrain response mode called rock crawl mode. Why not? Land Rovers are supposed to be the best off-roaders, right? The present generation Discovery 5 debuted at the 2016 Paris Motor Show. It's rounder than it's ever been and barely distinguishable from any other SUV on the road. One positive about the new gen is that it's constructed mostly out of aluminum or aluminium because it's a British car, and that reduces the weight over 1,000 pounds from the previous gen. 1,000 pounds is a lot. I mean, that's like, listen, I know it shouldn't bother me as much, but that guy's been at like every taping for the past year, and I mean, I'm already done talking about the Discovery. I feel kind of weird. I might go take a nap. Okay, fine, twist my arm. Long story short, I ate baby meat and now I'm a witch. So don't mess with me, because now I'm a spooky, spooky witch with a cauldron and spells and a cat. Yeah, we're out there making potions. Anyway, I love you.